Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're zeroing in on, well, a really significant shift happening in AI. It's being called the era of experience.
Right.
If you're keeping track of things like LLMs, you're probably wondering, okay, what's the next big thing?
Yeah, where does it go from here?
Exactly. So, based on your interest in what's coming down the pike in AI, we're diving into some key ideas from a paper called The Era of Experience by David Silver and Richard Sutton.
A foundational piece, really looking forward.
Yeah. And our mission today, pretty simple. Pull out the main characteristics defining this this coming era. Why is it different? And, what cool stuff could it actually enable?
And maybe some of the challenges too, presumably.
Oh, definitely. Got to look at both sides. So let's start with where we are now. The paper talks about how AI, especially LLMs, learn from just tons of human data.
It's genuinely amazing what they've achieved that way. I mean, the paper lists examples, right? Writing poetry, tackling physics problems.
Medical diagnosis, summarizing legal documents.
Yeah.
It's quite a list.
Yeah, it shows just how powerful learning from human-generated stuff has been.
For sure. These models got incredibly good at spotting patterns in our language, our knowledge. But, and this is the core argument, isn't it?
Right.
Relying only on that human data, it seems like we might be hitting a wall, especially for the really hard problems.
Exactly. Think about advanced math or complex coding or, real scientific breakthroughs. The author suggests we're kind of running out of the really high-quality human data needed for that next leap.
Running out. Or maybe the data just doesn't contain the answers we're looking for.
That's a really critical point. If you want something completely new, a theorem nobody's thought of, a scientific principle we don't understand yet,
Yeah.
well, that's just not in the data we've already created because, well, we haven't discovered it yet.
Right. So you can't learn it from our examples if we don't have the example.
Precisely.
Ah.
And the paper sort of hints that the pace of progress, just using this supervised human data approach, it's slowing down in some of these key areas. We need something else.
Okay, so let's unpack that something else. This proposed next step, the era of experience. What does that actually mean?
Well, instead of just feeding AI data we made, the core idea is the AI learns by doing, by interacting with its environment, whatever that environment is.
So it generates its own data through interaction.
Exactly. It learns from its own experience. That's a pretty fundamental shift in thinking.
It sounds like it. How does that work in practice?
The paper gives a fantastic example, AlphaProof. This AI system actually won a medal in the International Mathematical Olympiad.
Wow.
So it started by learning from, maybe 100,000 formal proofs that humans had created. A decent amount, but not enormous.
Right.
But then, and this is the key bit, it generated 100 million more proofs on its own.
100 million? How?
By interacting with a formal proof system, basically trying things out, getting feedback, is this proof valid, yes or no? That's reinforcement learning.
Okay. Learning by trial and error, essentially.
Kind of, yeah. And the amazing part, this self-generated experience let it find solutions, proofs that were totally outside what humans had come up with before. It wasn't just faster math, it was new math.
That's a step beyond just pattern matching. It's actual discovery.
Totally. And there's other work mentioned, like from DeepSeek AI. They found that if you just give the AI the right goals, the right incentives, it can figure out really advanced ways to solve problems all by itself without us telling it how step by step. Like, here's the target, you invent the route.
Okay, I'm starting to see the picture.
Yeah.
It's not just more data. It's a different kind of learning,
Right.
more active.
Exactly. And the paper then digs into, all right, what defines this era? What are the key features? The first one they talk about is streams of experience.
Streams of experience. Okay, so contrasting with how we often use AI now, like ask a question, get an answer, interaction over.
Pretty much. That's very episodic, short term. This idea is more like the AI agent lives in a continuous flow of interactions, like us, really.
So information carries over. It learns and adapts based on everything that's happened before.
Yes, exactly. It's not resetting after every query. It has a history, a context that builds over time.
That sounds crucial for anything long term.
It is. Think about the examples they give. A health agent monitoring you over months, noticing trends, giving advice based on that whole history.
Or like a tutor app that tracks your learning over a whole semester, not just one quiz.
Right. These agents can actually pursue long-term goals where maybe one action doesn't seem useful now, but it's part of a bigger plan.
Okay, continuous streams, what's next?
The second characteristic, grounded actions and observations. This is about moving beyond just text, just dialogue.
So interacting with the world more directly.
Yeah, both digital and physical worlds, using sensors, maybe motor controls, acting autonomously.
So less about talking to us, more about doing things.
In a way, yes. Or at least doing things as well. The paper notes LLMs are already starting to, use computer interfaces like we do.
Right, using tools, browsing.
Exactly. But imagine future agents controlling robotic arms in a lab, running experiments, or monitoring sensors out in the environment for climate science.
So they can actively explore, gather their own observations from the world.
That's the key. Active exploration and adaptation based on real-world feedback, not just passively receiving data.
Which leads neatly into the third point, I guess. Grounded rewards.
You got it. This is a big one. Instead of us humans being the main judge of whether the AI did a good job, the reward, the feedback signal, comes more directly from the environment itself, from real-world outcomes.
Okay, so not just did the human like the answer, but what?
Things like actual health metrics improving for that wellness agent, or real exam scores going up for the education agent.
CO2 levels dropping for the climate agent. Material strength improving in a simulation.
Exactly. Objective, measurable results from the world. This is critical, the paper argues, to let AI find solutions we might not have thought of or even initially liked.
Because our judgment is limited by our own understanding.
Precisely. Our preferences might actually hold the AI back from discovering something truly optimal or novel. Grounded rewards avoid that bottleneck.
The paper also mentions user feedback, though, like tasting a cake. Isn't that human judgment?
Good point. But it's still a grounded reward. It's a direct consequence of the AI's action, baking the cake, experienced in the real world. It's not just an abstract opinion, it's a tangible result, like feeling less tired after following exercise advice.
Okay, I see the distinction. And there must be tons of potential grounded signals out there. Cost, errors, efficiency.
Absolutely. The world is full of them. And what's really interesting is the idea of making the reward function itself flexible.
How so?
Instead of just one fixed goal, maybe the AI combines multiple grounded signals, energy use, user comfort, cost savings, and learns how to weight them.
Oh, like it figures out the best trade-offs based on some higher level goal we give it.
Yeah, potentially guided by our feedback over time. The paper calls it bi-level optimization. We set the overall objective, like make this building energy efficient and comfortable, and the AI learns the best way to balance those signals from the environment, thermostat settings, lighting, etc. Maybe using a neural network to figure out that ideal mix.
Adaptable goals based on real results.
Okay.
What's the final characteristic?
Planning and reasoning about experience. We see LLMs doing some reasoning now, right? Using language, chain of thought.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
But the authors pose a question. Is human language really the best way to compute, to reason universally?
Oh, interesting. Maybe not.
Maybe not. Experiential agents, learning from interaction, might discover other ways to reason. More efficient internal representations, perhaps, not tied to language.
Like alpha proof, finding new ways to do math proofs.
Exactly. It wasn't just following human logic patterns. And crucially, grounding that reasoning in real-world experiments provides a reality check.
To avoid flawed assumptions. Things baked into human data.
Precisely. You test your reasoning against actual outcomes. This leads to the idea of a world model.
Okay, what's that?
It's like the agent builds an internal simulation and understanding of how its actions will affect the world, including the rewards it might get.
So it can predict the consequences?
Yeah.
And plan based on those predictions?
Yes. It allows for looking ahead, evaluating different action sequences internally before committing. And the paper notes this kind of planning and the language-based reasoning of LLMs, they aren't necessarily separate. They could work together.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've got these characteristics, continuous streams, grounded actions, grounded rewards, and this new kind of planning reasoning. Why is this shift happening now? Learning from experience, reinforcement learning, that's not totally new, is it?
No, you're absolutely right. RL has been around and it had big successes, especially in games. Go, chess, video games, places where you could simulate the experience easily.
Right, let's go AlphaZero.
Exactly. But then the LLM boom happened. Learning from that massive pile of human data was just so broadly applicable so quickly, it kind of overshadowed the experiential approach for a bit.
Because human data covers so many different topics straight away.
Yeah, it gave incredible generality. But something important got maybe not lost, but de-emphasized.
Which was?
The ability for the AI to discover truly new things, things beyond the human data, like how AlphaZero came up with chess strategies humans hadn't conceived of.
So the human data provided breadth, but experience provides the path to genuine novelty.
That's a great way to put it. The era of experience aims to combine that breadth, that generality, with the power of self-discovery.
Yeah.
And now is the time because, well, two things are converging.
Okay.
One, we're getting much better at building agents that can actually interact autonomously in complex environments, digital and physical. And two, the RL algorithms themselves are getting more powerful, better at handling open-ended problems, sparse rewards, the tricky stuff you find in the real world.
So the tech is catching up to the concept.
Pretty much. It's about merging the general capability from human data with the innovation engine of experience.
Okay, this sounds potentially transformative. Let's talk consequences. What are the upsides, the opportunities here?
The paper paints a really exciting picture. So think about truly personalized help. Assistants that really know you over the long term, your health goals, your learning style, your work needs, adapting continuously.
That goes way beyond current assistants.
Way beyond. And then there's science. Imagine AI designing and running experiments. In materials science, discovering new compounds. In medicine, testing drug hypotheses.
Autonomous scientific discovery.
Yeah, accelerating breakthroughs at a pace we can barely imagine. Developing new materials, new drugs, new tech, driven by AI's own exploration. If you're in R&D, this could change everything.
Yeah, that's huge potential. But you mentioned challenges earlier. What are the downsides or risks we need to think about?
Well, the obvious one is automation in jobs. If AI can handle more complex, long-term tasks autonomously, what does that mean for human roles?
A serious societal question.
Definitely. And then there's the autonomy itself. Agents operating for long periods, maybe with less direct human checking, that requires enormous trust. How do we ensure they remain aligned with our goals? How do we handle responsibility?
Especially if, as you said, their reasoning might become different from ours, harder to follow.
Exactly. Interpretability could become even trickier if the AI develops truly alien ways of thinking through problems.
It's interesting, though. The paper also flips that a bit and mentions potential safety benefits from this experiential approach.
It does, yeah. It's a nuanced point. Because these agents learn continuously from their environment, they can potentially adapt to changes. If hardware malfunctions, if society's values shift slightly, if new science emerges, a static AI might fail or become unsafe, but an experiential one could adjust.
Okay, that makes sense. It's more resilient.
Potentially. And maybe even more reassuring, the idea is they could learn to recognize negative human reactions to stress, concern as feedback, and adjust their behavior.
Like a built-in don't upset the humans signal, learn from interaction.
Something like that. And linked to the grounded rewards, the ability to tweak the reward function based on feedback. That offers a way to correct misalignment incrementally. If we see it optimizing for something slightly wrong, we can provide feedback, guide it back.
A continuous course correction mechanism.
Hopefully. And one last point on safety. The real world takes time. Running experiments, observing long-term effects, that inherently slows things down compared to pure simulation. This might act as a natural brake on runaway self-improvement.
Right, the speed of learning is tied to the speed of real-world interaction and feedback.
Exactly. It's not instantaneous computation. It's tied to physics, biology, society.
This has been really illuminating. Definitely feels like this era of experience concept as laid out here. It's more than just an iteration. It's a potential paradigm shift.
I think so. Moving from AI as primarily a reflection of human knowledge to AI as an active participant, a discoverer in its own right.
The potential seems immense, surpassing human capabilities in specific areas through this self-learning. But clearly, lots to consider on the safety and societal fronts.
Absolutely. It's a complex package, huge potential mixed with significant responsibility.
So a final thought for you, the listener, to maybe chew on. How might this change from learning static human knowledge to learning from dynamic, self-generated experience? How might that change not just what AI can do, but maybe our whole understanding of what intelligence is and what does discovery even look like in that future?
Yeah, what does it mean when our primary tools for discovery are themselves learning and discovering alongside us, maybe even ahead of us?
Definitely something to ponder. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.